of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
Good evening and welcome to an A.H.A.D moment, the calm before the storm. I'm your host, Minister A.H.A.D. With me today, we have Lord Holy Apostle Dean Salim, my partner, Brother Fakir Abdul Aziz, and Holy Queen, who's usually sitting with us, not here today, but we wish everyone and herself Aiza's peace and other blessings about everyone's presence. Those tuning in and those that are here, may the Lord's peace and other blessings about your presence. We want to, it's always be fitting and sitting in the company of Aiza's messenger, because it gives us so much of reflection to think about in this conversation with us, you know. And one of the beautiful things that I appreciate from Aiza is how it grants us, you know, from itself, understanding in the sense that, you know, not to the degree that the messenger had, but for each individual, each one of us, something that we can relate to within our own experiences that it give us in our own worlds. And one thing we want to discuss this evening is talking about the unseen. I know for many people in the unseen, you know, may think about the Lord, or it's, how should I put this? What it calls to be manifested in us, and that which of us present that we don't know anything about. The best way I can surmise it, put it, and that we don't know about it, of its unseen presence, you know, and how it relates to us from the unseen in its creation, to including us of its creation, and how it does so many things and balancing and evolving and giving us life in this. So with that, you know, Holy Apostle, Brother Fakir, you know.
First of all, may I use peace and blessings be with them about your presence.
May I use peace about your presence as well.
Let's deal with what is the most important aspect of life, what is the most powerful aspect of life, what is the most real aspect of life. And that is the unseen. Okay. Where man has faltered in general, through, you know, like this is clear across the board of humanity, is that so many of us are born, and then we don't make it back to the realization of the unseen, realization of where we come from, you know, who gave us life and so forth and so on. We deal with the seen, our parents, you know, and we deal with what is manifested of the seen in pain, you know, and pleasure and what have you. Right. Not realizing that in the essence of all things, in all sensations, in all things with sensory perception, it comes from that unseen thing. You know, it's the real thing that make everything else real to whatever is real to its creation. So us as human beings, you know, we are caught up in the trick of life, you know, the elusive things that we trick ourselves by into believing that that is what's most real, right, instead of the thing that is the real, the unseen thing, you know. So when we look at birth, let's take it from birth. When we look at birth, when we come into this life, the first thing we come to realize is that there is something outside of the womb. And as we grow in our realization, we realize to ourselves that there's more outside the womb than it is in the womb. When in reality, what is in the womb is equal to what is out the womb. But what is in the womb is unseen, manifesting in a unit of its being.
Okay.
As to where outside the womb of our mothers,
Right.
it manifests in everything as many units
Okay.
of its being, which is the elusive, the illusions of the real that is unseen. So when we deal with the unseen being, the reality, El, as it is one, it is all, and in its allness is not more than its oneness.
Okay.
And its oneness is not more than its allness. Its oneness and its allness is all the same thing.
So
Infinite and eternal.
So hearing you correctly, Blossom, it's almost like the microcosm and the macrocosm but it's still a reality of the smallest units in the world of their womb, as well as the larger, what we recognize out here as the heavens and the universe and all these things I'm talking about. But it's still the one and the same, regardless of what. So perception now comes into play. If I'm hearing you, perception now, our perception of the we think is of it in our sense of smallness and bigness or largeness. In reality, it's still the same. Okay.
Let me give you a greater picture. in this microcosm of its being, which we consider ourselves, in all the small things, it says that it is the power and the glory in each minute thing. It says that it, being the alive and the real, is the same in an ant or a smaller creature that it is in the sun, the stars. The same thing, powering everything. It says that as great as our universes are, to it they are microscopic or less. Because it is endless, beyond our greatest imagination, beyond our sights, beyond our knowledge, our experiences. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Man has been trying to find the end of the universes. Right. No matter how far it allows man to send its machines out into the galaxies, the galactic worlds, they will never find an end to it. If they point in one direction, they will never find an end in that one direction, because it is infinite, eternal. You know? So we need, as human beings, we need to deal with the reality of that this unseen thing is what gives us life. And although we cannot see it, we need to realize it, see it by understanding, see it by knowledge. When I say knowledge, I mean experiencing, feeling, hearing, attesting to its wisdom, and seeing beyond our own understanding to know that it goes beyond the rationality of our minds. That we can never, if we go to the top of our thinking, where we can no longer stay rational, it is reasonable there.
Lord, by the show of our inability to embrace it, to grasp it, we're unable to do that.
That's untrue.
Well, I mean, in the sense when we describe the microscopes and the physical things that are developed by
you are grasping it now, but you are unaware of the fact that you are grasping it. To grasp it is not just to understand it. To grasp it is to take hold of it. Do you not take hold of life? That is it. Do you not take hold of your breath? That is it. Do you not take hold of the beating of your heart? That is it. Everything about you is it. All about you is it. All about everything is it. But you need to grasp it with your understanding of it. If you cannot understand it, then you think like others. Well, it's not there. I can't comprehend it, so it must not be there.
Is it the lessons of yourself, the messengers, and the messengers before that come to us that teaches us how to develop a relationship, to relate and understand that it applies. The unseen applies. And
let me tell you something really, really truthful. I've taught you a lot of things, haven't I?
Yes.
No, I have not. I have taught you nothing. It has taught you. When did I become the teacher? The knower. I'm the tool that it uses to teach you through. I can't claim its knowledge to teach you its knowledge. In every aspect of my being, every moment of my being, every second and every millimeter, every fraction of every moment, I am in complete need of it to give to me, to give to you. So where do I start? Teaching. See, I'm part of that illusion that you're confused about. Out of its mercy, it teaches you in an order where you don't say, he's deluded and he's crazy because he thinks he's God. So it tempers my language with you. So we speak the same language. Then you go to thinking that I'm teaching you something. You see this little head I got? How much do you think this little head can hold? It said to Muhammad, if I was to lay down this word, this wisdom on a mountain, it would crush it. It was telling the people that Muhammad didn't even hold it. None of the subjects can hold Allah. None of the subjects can hold El. El holds them. El manifests them. El embodies them. Why do you think it says that it created the Lord of the throne? That Allah is a creation of its being, a creation, that it manifests so man would have something to relate it to themselves. So we say that's the Lord of the throne. And it says that it is clothed by the seraphim, the supermost supreme archangels. That's its clothing. It forms itself with them. But it is unseen, hidden within that thing and all about that thing. And the angels, you ask, if you could ask them like I can, you say, well, what is it? They will tell you, we don't know. We don't know. All we know that it is. It exists. And it's all powerful. It's beyond us. And when we are undressed of our form of it, it is still there. It is independent of us. It is still there. And it is Lord. And it calls itself in that unit A.H.A.D now. And used to call itself for man Allah and Brahman and Amen and Ra and Aleph and many other names. To relate to the times.
No, as hearing this, now I go back to when Allah spoke to Moses. Who do I say? I am.
I am. Tell him I am that I am.
Right.
In other words, I am means I exist. That I exist. I exist in the how I exist in ways that you cannot fathom. Yet I touch upon you in ways that I cause you to realize me. And Moses looked at it and Moses said, oh, perfect guy.
Yeah.
Huh? Oh, breath. Oh, essence. Oh, perfect guy. Because how can he identify it?
Right.
Other than breath and essence.
Right.
And the guide of life. He didn't know what to say about it. Except that. And they interpret Yahuwah as a name instead of what Moses said is a phrase. And then they hide the fact that El is the, and being the beyond all things, the before and the after everything, without a description, beyond description. What is the? It is the of everything.
Right.
The life, the death, the hearing, the knowing, the cause, the effect, the before, the after. And they hide that under the word El. And then the Muslims come and won't even, the Arabs come and won't even express the fact that Allah is El-Ah. Saying the Ah, El-Ah, the Ah of Amen. The breath of the mind, the infinite mind that breathes life into all things. You know, if we understand the unseen, if we go back into the truthful religious language, then we have to go back into the knowledge of the unseen. That which it gave to Adam and Eve to know by faith before anything. And look at what they've done to the word Eden. We know that is A.H.A.D. It's the faith. It put them in the garden of the faith. The garden meaning the life of the faith. The garden of Eden. Eden. And we, as non-Arab speaking people, we don't know that Eden is Eden.
Right.
We've been tricked and taken away from the process of life. We've been tricked and taken away from our righteous direction to get back to the reality, the realization, and the knowledge of the unseen by faith. Where do we make our greatest mistakes as human beings? By trying to live by knowledge.
Right.
Wanting to know before we make a move. Wanting to be confirmed with the prize at the end before we start to do right to get to the prize at the end. We want it beforehand. That's what the devil has done to us as human beings. Get your prenuptial before you marry the Lord. Get your promise. Get your prize. It's a symbol in marriage itself. When you go and get married to a woman or a man, you got to come with a prize, jewels or whatever.
Right.
Here, before you prove yourself. Here. And that's what we want from the Lord. That's all backwards. It's all backwards. And we suffer by that. We suffer by it. Because we demand to know from the Lord before we come of truth, before we come of faith, before we become of belief. So therefore, we get beat down as human beings until we say, I give, Lord, please help me, Lord. I give. And then we go so humbled and beat down. The Lord loves me. Yeah, more than you love yourself. You know, instead of you coming through clear wisdom, you got to get the hell beat out of you and come through the cloudiness. To say, I surrender.
Yeah.
Clear this up for me. It was clear for you in the beginning.
Hearing that story now, express now makes more sense because before Adam and Eve, before the apple bite, they were in the harmonious state that they were.
Oh, you talking about the story of Adam and Eve?
Right.
Yeah. Before they was tricked by the devil.
No.
See, you gotta remember the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden was symbolic in the essence of its giving. It was a similitude to what was real. You know, like when we say that it was placed down into the Garden of Faith, the Garden of Eden. or Eden, Garden of the Faith. It was told to know the Lord by faith, to trust the Lord by faith. So by faith, you don't get involved with all the things that's around you. You know, if you got to go through some unknown place, you go through it by faith. You see, and the devil said, well, take a bite of this tree. You know, the Lord said, don't eat of that tree in the center of the garden, the tree of knowledge. Huh? Because the tree of knowledge raised reason and argument. You got knowledge, now you come to question. You come to realize differences. You look at your partner, hey, wait a minute, what's that hanging off of you? What's that hanging off of you? I mean, we're different. You see? First thing Adam and Eve realized was their differences.
Right.
The differences of themselves. Then they start going around and recognizing different things and, you know, and start questioning. So therefore, by them questioning, coming to reasoning and trying to reason up everything, they came into opposition. They came into friction. Huh? They came into concerns. Now they did not follow the Lord by faith anymore. Now they needed to know before they took a bite of this and a bite of that and walked this way and walked that way and for everything they did, they wanted to know. Now it's questions.
Right. Okay.
Whereas had they walking in faith in the beginning, those things would have been given freely.
Those things they were being given. Everything is always given freely by the Lord.
Right.
You can't pay the Lord. What you got to pay the Lord?
Right.
Everything you use to pay the Lord belongs to the Lord already. So you stealing from the Lord to pay it? Right. Life is free. But we try to be free. We can't be free because we're owned. In every way that we are owned by it. What can you claim for yourself as ownership? If you are the creator, then you can claim it. So what did you create of yourself? What did you create of life? You didn't do anything. You're being done through. Yeah. And by faith, things like that you come to know, and at the same time, you have no concerns for it. You just go about life living right.
So the law says in the Quran, they didn't differ till knowledge came.
They didn't differ till knowledge came. Once knowledge came to them, then here come all the concerns, all the questions, all the differences, all everything. Just like you just brought that up, that's a sweet way. A.H.A.D put it in a sweet way through Muhammad. A sweet way through Muhammad. You know? And then you have people who will come and say, oh, that's not a true religion, wasn't a true religion. He stole that from Christianity. Right. Well, let's look in the Christian Bible. How many different religions do they have collected up in that Bible? See, these Christians run around here not even knowing their own history. They run around with different religions, calling it all Christianity. Different prophets coming from different times under different names of the Lord, different understandings and what have you, pieced together as one, saying, oh, that's the Old Testament, not the New Testament. Right. They done added more to it. Paul's word. And the disciples' word that was given from Jesus, but we don't know how much is correct about them, do we? That's right. But we trust it. Because they don't have a book that says Jesus on it. Right. Huh?
Well, I'm caught up in us now coming to the Lord, Lord help in that cloudiness instead of in that clarity. You know, we're cloudy and we're looking for help, but that's something that's created by eating of the forbidden fruit of knowledge so that we can reason, so that the arguments come about, so that we ultimately argue to the point that we believe that we're creator. We believe that we have an equality.
Well, one of the things that the Lord did was because at the beginning when Adam and Eve faltered, and it brought them back to heaven to judge them and to destroy them for their faltering, it determined that it would give man life still. And it enlightened them, made them prophets, made them messengers.
Right.
They were the first messengers and sent them back to earth. And they became messengers for the community of Adam and Eve.
Right.
You know? And but we were, as human beings, had that curse instilled in us.
Right.
What the germ of their misdoings is still in humanity. So when we're born, we come up into this cloudiness, you know? And it's like, you know, for the first few years of your life, man, you're right. And then your innocence start leaving when knowledge start coming to you. You know? And you become guilty about things. You start rationalizing and reasoning and choosing differences. And then you think that you have a right to be wrong. And you choose your right to be wrong. Why you think you can talk to your children and they say, I don't want to hear what you got to say. I want to find out for myself. That's ignorance and foolishness. Because if I go out as let's say we a military group and I'm the point man and I go out and get shot, do you want to go and experience getting shot for yourself by going into the same pathway without protecting yourself?
Right. Yeah.
That's foolishness. So you want to go out there and suffer what I suffered to learn.
And most people say yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what people say.
Yeah. Well, that's the devil in people who want to be independent of the Lord Most High. That's the devil in people, you know, saying I want to be free. I want to be different. You know, I don't want to be under your clutches. Like they say, I'd rather rule in hell than to serve in heaven.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
It's something because you explained that, thinking about what Allah says in the Quran, when He created prophets and everything, and send them back as guides, and then people question them, would Allah send a man as a guide? And I was thinking about that before we started this program, how when it sends men like yourself, the messengers, who are the essence of mind of humanity, and we being a man's kind of mind, which is in the mind of the cloudiness that we're dealing in now, then Allah send one back from Himself. And people go back to what you're saying. How can he be right? How could he know about the Lord and these questionings again because you come from the truth, reality. I'm gonna hold this for 1 second.
Yeah, we'll explain it in the next phase.
We want to thank those in our New York audience for tuning into this program. You know, continue watching. Catch the second half of this program